ever woken up in the morning and there's porridge all over the kitchen floor, there's ketchup and crayon marks on the walls, and signs that someone still needs some bathroom lessons on etiquette? And on top of that, your assignment is due in a couple of hours. If this is your dilemma, then pull up a chair and your favorite beverage. You're at the right show because our guest today has got you covered. Don't go away. We'll be right back with the Writer's Corner live show. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Writer's Corner live show. I'm your host, Brigitte Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa. And today's stream is made possible by StreamYard, Creative Edge, and BeLive Media. We are broadcasting to Amazon Live. So if you're watching us on Amazon Live, please remember to unmute, or otherwise you can't hear us. We are also broadcasting to Twitter, to Facebook, to YouTube, and LinkedIn. So wherever you are joining us from, a hearty, warm welcome. I hope you've got some tea or coffee or a glass of wine. And you're welcome to post comments and ask questions to our author. We are monitoring the comments in real time. So ask away. We'd be happy to answer your questions. In today's show, we're going to be talking to MM De Voe, whose book has just won first prize in the Indie Book Awards about publishing and writing. So we're very excited to have her on the show today because that's just breaking news. But before we bring Em onto the show, I want to say a hearty warm welcome to my friend and co-host, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. She is a special needs and disabilities advocate and the author of the award-winning Poolicious children's book series. She writes books that has empowering statements and words for children. And she also writes for the special needs community. So let me say a hearty warm welcome to my co-host, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. Mary, welcome to the show.
Hi. I am so excited to be here this morning. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. It's so beautiful and wonderful to see you. And we are, hi, Tim. We want to say hi to Tim in Pennsylvania. So we got another United States fellow American with us here this morning because we are global, aren't we? And we're super excited to be here today. We have a great, great author and interview coming up here in just a sec on our show. We're so excited, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. And Lillian is in Europe. So we're truly global today. This is absolutely amazing. So welcome, welcome. Wherever you're watching us from, whichever platform you're on, a hearty warm welcome. I am monitoring the comments and I can show your comments on screen. So I'm very excited to have her. You know, life is just chaotic and the pandemic has added a new dimension.
Absolutely.
Lillian's reminding us that she's from Switzerland.
And oh, wonderful.
The pandemic has added a new dimension to chaos. And I know what, you know, I am a parent and also worked from home for many years. And it gets real super challenging. So hats off to Em for finding a way to actually write out how we can be successful at working from home. She's internationally published. She's a writer of short fiction and recognized the imbalances that parents face in the professional arts community. And she founded a nonprofit called Pen Parentis to help authors and writers stay on the creative track while starting a family. And that is how her book came about, Book and Baby, of which the former editor-in-chief of Literary Mama said, now this is somebody who spent 20 years herself working from home, being an author, She says, I've been writing while parenting for nearly 20 years, spent 10 of those years editing a website devoted to this topic. And even I still learned a few things. So
So that then she's that speaks volumes, yes. And it really is challenging as a parent. I mean, I had to make that shift like so many of us this year with the pandemic and trying to work from home and balancing everything. And it's just like, oh my gosh. I mean, some days you just go to bed crying, going, did I get anything done today? Did I accomplish anything? Well, everyone's alive, clean underwear. We've been fed, maybe popcorn. We're doing good, right? So, so it's just amazing. And so she is going to give, I know she has a lot of information for families out there, parents, whether you're single, married, whatever your situation is. We're so grateful that she wrote this book and that this is her passion also in life, is to help those out there that are trying to be creatives, entrepreneurs, and parents, because, you can do both. It's just the mountain's just a little bigger.
Absolutely. And this lady knows what she's talking about because she's also got a master of fine arts in creative writing. So shall we not waste any more time and bring her onto the show, because I'm dying to chat to her and find out from her just what is it that has helped her be so absolutely successful at what she is doing. So let's not waste any time and get onto the show, shall we?
Yes, please.
Wow. I feel so honored. I feel like I should be like, oh, thank you, the Academy. Like, wow.
Yes. You need,
actually, I've never had such an introduction.
Oh, you need to be wearing your crown.
I should.
And, the red carpet and the band and everything. Yes. But actually, yes, you need to be honored. And we're so excited to be able to celebrate your win. I mean, and share it with the world. We're so excited.
The timing couldn't have been more perfect. So, you guys get to break the news. I found out last night, and I'm so thrilled to be that first prize. Like, yay.
I know. I mean, so congratulations that you've just won first prize in the Indie Book Awards for books about publishing and writing. That is absolutely huge.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I definitely have to shout out my publisher, because Brooklyn Writers Press is a tiny indie press, and they have done such a beautiful job on the book and really let me do things that a lot of indie publishers wouldn't. I asked to have illustrations, and so we were able to have like some just unbelievably neat illustrations that I would want like in my house. They're so interesting.
Cool.
The illustrator volunteered her time. She's actually a Pen Apprentice member, and her name is June Gervais. And she created these little tiny illustrations that are for each stage of a baby's life or child's life, all the way from infancy through empty nest. And each illustration has hidden in it an ampersand, because the book has, book and baby, not book or baby, which is what everybody thinks, that you either have to have a book or you have a baby and then never the twain. But so she hid an ampersand in each illustration. It's really cool.
That is awesome.
So sweet.
I love it. Yeah, that is so great. I say that I birthed twins with my son, because I had him and then he helped me create, from him came my book series. So I say I had twins.
Emma, I want to ask you, you have carved out, in between having your children, family life, you've carved out a really, really successful career. You wear many hats.
I love hats.
And one of you love hats. I kept thinking, I'd love to get a hat for the show, because I think, it's kind of.
They used to call me chapeau in grad school.
Oh, nice.
I used to wear hats all the time.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, you literally wore your hat.
I did.
Yes, Brigetti needs a hat, because I call her Dame Brigetti, so she definitely needs a hat. So.
Or a tiara. I don't know, a tiara.
She's for me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I want to ask you, how did Pen Parentis come? Pen Parentis is a non-profit. Yeah. Tell us why you started Pen Parentis. Who is it for? What does it do for people?
Sure. Well, so I went to graduate school at Columbia, and it was very much about, getting your work out there and all these things. But at the time, and I graduated in 2001, and at that time, nobody talked about having children. If you had children, you kept it off your bio. You kept it as quiet as you possibly could. You didn't mention it because you were afraid it was going to somehow impact your career negatively. And that was sort of the standard of all artists, that if you had a kid, that was somehow detracting from you being an actual artist. Like, you can't possibly be an artist and actually have a child. And I didn't like that, because I was already married when I went to graduate school, and I wanted, a full life. And I thought maybe someday I'd have a kid. And I didn't like having this put to me like a decision, like, do you want to be a writer or do you want to have a child? And so as I was writing, and I continued to write. And 10 years after graduate school, I had 2001, 2 years. Numbers and I do not get along. So anytime I say a number, it's suspect completely. So my son was born in 2002. And I was continuing to write, and I was continuing to publish, and I was winning awards for my writing. And so I knew that, like, my talent was fine, but my time was limited, and my energy was dying, and I was terrified of having to pay for college. And so the whole, like, time, energy, money thing became really stressful. And I would go out with friends who had kids, and we would all be just like, how do people do this? I know people do this. And I had one friend in particular, her name's Arlena Tabensky, and she and I went to grad school together, and we would go to lunch and just be like, how do people do this? And so we decided together to run this reading series where we would present writers that have kids and books, and just interview them and find out, like, how do they do it? Like, what do they do? And so that started, it was called the Pen Parentis After Work Reading Series. And we were just bringing writers together that had kids and had books, and they talked about, like, how they did it. We got city funding for it, so that was really great. And then a couple of years in, we started feeling this, like, real, like, need. The authors would come to me afterwards and be like, is there a membership? Like, can I join? And there was nothing to join. Like, it was just a reading series. But this need for community, this need for authors to have a space where they could tell their story, because nobody, like, frequently we would get people on our stage and they would say, and these were, like, major people. Like, these were, like, Marcy Dermansky type people, like, really, like, award-winning, amazing authors. And they would say things, or Cara Hoffman was one of our first readers. And they would say things like, I have never been asked about my child in public, or I was never able to acknowledge the fact that I'm a mother. And we were really, so at that time, right when we started this reading series, it was 2009. And if you remember, the New York Times had a blog series called Motherload, which started this whole mommy blogging thing. And everybody had a blog, and everybody blogged about their kids. And so when you admitted that you had a child, let's say you admitted you had a child, the very first question was, oh, do you have a blog? Are you writing about this kid? And I got really sick of being asked that, because I was very much my child is private. My life is about fiction writing, and it has nothing to do with essays. But I felt somehow diminished as a writer because I was expected to have a mommy blog. And I felt that that was wrong. Like, I didn't think that every child needed to be the subject of a blog. And then, and so that was, like, percolating in my head also. And then this whole, people would ask, I'm sure they asked you too, Mary, about having children's books. Do you write children's books? Like, you have a child, do you write children's books? And my fiction is dark and humorous. It's not at all for kids. Like, I don't think that I believe my college age son may have read one or two of my stories at this point, but it's not like, it's definitely
it's not kid friendly.
No, not so much. And so, again, I felt like, why are you, like, they were not only diminishing me as a writer, but somehow diminishing me as a writer parent, that, like, because I have children, I'm supposed to be writing children's literature. Because I have children, I'm supposed to be writing a mommy blog. I'm like, this can't be everybody. Like, there have to be. And then when we started actually the reading series, we started seeing the caliber of people that were writers that had kids. And these were monster. I mean, they were like Jennifer Egan, Darren Strauss. We're talking, Victor Laval, Kelly Link, big name people that were writers before they had kids, and then they had kids, and then they continued to write. And so I was like, okay, well, this is a thing. First of all, we need a community where we need to be able to talk to each other. And secondly, everybody wants to join this thing. So there should be something that they can join. So right. I had one of our audience members for the reading series was a lawyer. And she said, if you can just get a board together, then we can make you a nonprofit. Like my law firm does pro bono work. And it was this amazing, like white shoe law firm at Lower Manhattan. Everything we did was in Manhattan. So it was already like kind of fancy. And
right.
and part of the thing with the reading series too, which I don't know if I even mentioned this in the book, but so my husband was in corporate America. And I was like, okay, why are artists being treated like why are when we go to a reading series, it's like a sticky bar, your arm is like gross, and it's noisy, they're pouring drinks in the middle of the presentation, and people work 10 years to write a novel, and then they get up in a situation where like half the people aren't paying attention, they're just there for the open bar. And I'm like, that can't, like, we should be elevated. Writers work really hard, and we should have fabulous places to present our work. It should be nice. And I thought back to like the salon idea. I always was really into Dorothy Parker and her round table. Like I was like, I want to do that. And so like very quickly, I wanted to rebrand our reading series into an actual salon series where we were going to discuss things of interest, and we were going to be respected as writers, and all of us will have kids. And so I wanted this elevated, like beautiful. So I got this hotel to give us free room, free alcohol, free food. And they had staff that set up and broke down for us. And
wow.
And it was amazing. Wow. And we did this at one hotel for 4 years. And then we moved to another hotel where we did it for 5 years. And it was glamorous and it was spectacular. And everybody who came in, like all the writers who came in were like, oh, wow. Like, why isn't like, it should be like this all the time. Like it really felt like something. And I think we should always treat artists that way. I mean, we're the creators, we're the makers. Like, it's all fine and good that you have a startup and you have some idea that's an app that you can sell to somebody else and make gazillions of dollars. But, we write the stuff that keeps you up at night watching YouTube. Like like we're the ones that write the stories that get put on the movies that keep you sane during pandemics.
Right. Absolutely. There should be a lot more respect in this world for this. And it's really sad because it takes brilliance to do creative things. It really does. It takes a lot of intelligence to do the creative work. So we want to ask you some of the challenges that young writers with families, young families face. What do you cover in your book about that? What kind of is it? Do you feel like it's like a special ingredient, like one, or are there several that apply all of these, and then you can you'll have success? Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, there's absolutely a checklist. No.
Okay.
There's no checklist. Just like in parenting,
you had me there for a second.
What's the checklist?
I know. Yeah.
Too easy.
What is it?
No
yes.
problem.
What is it? What is it? That's
worries.
what we're waiting on the edge of our seat for this, and so are all the other parents.
I know. Well, and that's why I think that's what makes parenting books so popular is that everybody's looking for the easy. And I mean, I think if there's a secret ingredient, it's trust your own judgment and like be willing to change every 5 seconds. Those are the two secret ingredients. The be willing to change every 5 seconds is definitely a secret ingredient. But so my book is organized by stages of childhood, because it's very different to have an infant in your house than to have a 6-year-old in your house. It's also very different to have like I do right this minute, have a college student home from college, or, there are many different stages.
Phases,
Right. And then if you and then they exponentially change if you have 2 or 3 kids, or if you have a special needs child, or if you are a single parent, or if you are in poverty. There are many different things that will affect the different stages. So this book is organized in phases of a child. So there's an infant phase, and it tells you also sort of subcategorizes time, energy, and money. Because let's call it a manifesto, is that your child doesn't take away your talent at all. Mm-hmm. It only takes away your resources that you can devote to your talent. So it takes away.
Wait a second. Can we just back up there? That is such a pivotal, important statement. Can I ask you to just repeat that? That's a real treasure of saying there.
Yeah, that your child does not. Now I can't even remember what I said, but it's that your baby does not steal your talent. Like,
correct.
Your baby does not have. It does not. It doesn't take away your talent. Your talent
right. It doesn't take away your resources.
It does. It basically your resources. It just
takes away the time.
Right. Exactly. It affects the resources, and your 3 resources that it's going to affect, and it's going to affect them, is your time, your energy, and your money. So your time is like, how much time do you have to devote to writing? And since writing is 24/7, all artists' jobs are 24/7. You're always thinking about something, always doing something. And parenting is also 24/7, because you never know when that fever is going to come on, or when the baby suddenly starts walking and you have to drop everything and video it. So your time, your energy, and your money. And your energy is also one of the chapters in this book, which is really good. I'm just going to divert. I do diversions. So one of the chapters in this book that's really good is by this fantastic poet named Mary Harpin, who did a huge survey of a whole bunch of parents that are writers. And she found a whole bunch of data on how they managed their time, their energy, and their money. And so from that, we really learned that, like, a lot of people give up sleep. Sleep is one of the first things that people give up in order to give more time to their writing. That's not the only way to do it, but it's a pretty fun chapter, and I'm very grateful to her for writing it, and for me to be able to include it, for allowing me to include it, is just cool. Awesome. But I was talking about the time, energy, money. Oh, and then the various phases. So like in an infant phase, for example, you lose energy in the form of sort of brain space, which is, so that's a term that Mary coined, this brain space, where even if you're not necessarily with your kid, sometimes, like in the infancy phase in particular, your brain is constantly on the fact that you have this infant. And when you forget that, then you feel like so guilty that the guilt becomes like almost as much trouble as just not being around the kid. So like, let's say you get a sitter when you have an infant. It takes a while to sort of be okay with, I have a sitter and my child is safe. I spent a long time getting a sitter. I know that that sitter is safe. My child is safe. Like, letting yourself let go of all that guilt and worry and all that stuff. That's a learned technique. And it's, it's not easy, but it's also necessary. I mean, you have to grow up, right? You have to be a parent who can eventually let their kid go. And that's a really, really impossible and painful thing to sort of get. But you're doing it your whole life, right? You're like, the kid is growing up and gets more responsibility. You also are a human being that, if you devote every single second of every single minute on being a parent and no time at all to yourself, then when you have an empty nester, you're going to be that parent who's like, hey, I'm lonely. Can you come and play with me? Like, you have to have lives. You don't want to be that mom that's like calling every 2 minutes and being like, hey, honey, can you bring your wife over? Because,
right.
Oh my gosh, you're really making me laugh, because that hits home in a big way. I've just become, I'm an empty nester.
Oh, are you calling your kid all the time?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't have enough hours in the day. I am an empty nester, but believe me, I am so busy. I really don't have time to twiddle my thumbs at all. And I cannot relate to people who say they're bored because they have an empty nest.
Me either.
My life is full, jam-packed.
Yeah, and I'm sure that your child values that. And I think that part of what happens a lot of times in a parent's head is that they worry that their kid is going to feel like they're not spending enough time with them. But like, what adult wants their mom to constantly be on them? Like zero adults, you know? And so, you know, but it's always a balance. And I'd like to, if I have a chance to, I'd love to talk a little bit about balance, because one of our four core principles in Pen Parentis, and Pen Parentis is a nonprofit that everybody is welcome to join, by the way. Like, all human beings that have children and self-identify as writers. You can be an adoptive parent, gay parents, like every kind of parent, step parents, it's all fine. And all writers are fine, any genre. We have people who are writing. I have a guy in one of my accountability groups who's writing a musical. Like, they're every kind of writing, poetry, genre, all the, you know, horror, science fiction, it's all good. We are not judging you on your writing, and we are not judging you on your parenting. All we want is for you to finish whatever writing that you are doing. Stay on creative track, whatever it is, like, finish it, do it, get it published, like, get it out in the world.
Do it for yourself.
Yes. Do it for yourself. Do it for the world. Like, the world needs more content. Like, you don't think the world needs more content, but the world does need more content. But it needs professional content. It needs great content. Like, give it respect.
Edited content.
It needs edited content. Yes, it needs professional. I mean, professional is another one of our pillars. Like, professionalism, inclusivity, a community, and balance. And the way that we think of balance is not this kind of balance. It is not the scales of justice. It's like a Calder mobile. It has so many pieces hanging on it. And like, you're the middle. And you have to get all these pieces to balance and to just work together. And every single time something changes, like whether it's a pandemic or whether it's like, oh, I had another child or I had twins, like, that changes the balance of everything. Like, all the things have to move together and they all have to stay stable. So, like, part of what this book is doing is kind of helping you move through all of these different stages and recognize that when your child starts moving, it changes everything. And that's okay. It's okay. It just means, okay, well, now I'm going to devote a little bit more time over here because this isn't going to work and this isn't. But if you want your writing to really stay like good, if you want it to work, you have to devote some time to it. You have to also pay attention that it also stays in balance with the other stuff. And the closer it is to the middle of your heart, like the closer it is to the middle, the more stable it'll be. If you put it all the way at the end and it's the last thing that you think about, it's the thing that's going to go up and down. It's like, oh, I didn't write for 2 years while I was, you know, PTA mom or something. Like, whatever you put sort of closest to your heart, that's the thing that's going to stay the most stable in one of these crazy mobiles, right? So if you think of
having some sort of a stabilizing factor that allows you to give and take.
Yeah. It's like, where are your values? Your values are in the middle. And if you think of your writing as a kind of a hobby that you do, then, you know, it'll be a hobby and it'll be a great hobby and you'll go to it when you feel like it. Fine. Maybe you'll finish a book in whenever. It's fine. It doesn't have to be the middle, but if it is the middle, like if it is something that you really, you know, if it feeds you, if it makes you feel better about yourself, if you have something important to say or something wonderful to say, or just something to say, like if you feel like you have to do it, move it closer, like take some time for it, pay attention to it, give it some respect the way that you would with anything that you know, that you have to do. So value.
I think that's a great point. Now, I want to ask you, you've interviewed so many people in the process of writing your book. Is there an example that stood out for you that you can share with us? Because we want people to go and buy the book. The book is on Amazon. It is in the carousel, so have a look at that. Can you give us just one example so people can sort of get an idea of what it is they'll find in the book?
So a lot of our interviews were excerpted and are actually in the book in the middle. And some of the people that you're going to hear from are like Minjin Lee, Marcy Dermansky, J.P. Howard, who is a lesbian poet, and Mira Jacob, who wrote Good Talk. So all of these people have very personal experiences that they're first, and I'm not going to speak for them because if I mess it up, it's like their personal lives that I'm saying wrong. And what they're saying about parenting and writing together is so unique to them. And part of what this book is really about is that your writing and parenting journey, both the writing and the parenting, have to be unique to you. Like, nobody else can tell you how to parent, and they also can't tell you how to write. They can improve both. They can give you their own experiences, and then you can distill them into what works for you, for your child, for your writing career, and what doesn't work for you and your child and your writing career. And I think it's really important for you not to feel guilty if somebody says, oh, I wake up at 4 a.m. because that's the only time I have quiet time. And you know yourself that you're not a 4:30 in the morning person. That's fine. Like, there are other people who get up, who stay up till 3 a.m. There are other people who are able to write in dribs and drabs. And so my writing this book was collecting more than 200 different interviews that we did, and distilling them down into, there are some people who do this, there are some people who do this, there are some people who do this. What works for you? Like, and you can choose from like 8 things that might work, or you might come up with your own way. We had a guy who just in the accountability group, he discovered that in the 1 hour that his kid is in swim class, he's alone in his car, and the car has Wi-Fi. Yeah. And so he just brings his laptop and he's zooming through finishing his novel, like, because he has this 1 hour a day, and it's like a private office during a pandemic, and it's perfect. And, you know, it's something that he never really thought of as like, oh, of course, my car is like alone space. Nobody can bother me when I'm in the car. And there are other writers now who have taken that and who have gotten in their car and just driven around the block. Like, you know, because there are times when you are away from your house and away from your kids. You just don't really think about that as possible creative time.
I've had to do that through the years. That's the only way I've been able to accomplish something is, you know, car rider line, practice, whatever. You know, I always have my notebook with me, and I always use my audio recorder. So
during the pandemic, we've gotten somewhat better at like the privacy of I'm on a Zoom. And so I know that a lot of times these writers, what do they call, like writers' caves, writers' rooms, where you just have a bunch of people on a Zoom, but they're all actually just working. They're not talking to each other. That seems to work in some households because the children respect that mom's on a Zoom in a way that they don't necessarily respect that she's just working. You know, like you said, working. It's different from mom's on a Zoom. Don't come here.
It's funny you say that, you know, because previously, I think it's because kids are on Zoom as well. Mm-hmm. And they know what it feels like if they're on a Zoom. They don't want to be disturbed by mom or dad. Like, don't come in the frame. You know, this is my space. And I think because they've got that frame of reference now, they will give you the respect that they want when they're on a Zoom. So, you know, just like that magic, pandemic's done us a lot of favors in certain ways.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we offer our members is that we have nighttime sort of open Zooms that you can just come and write on. So yeah. And our membership is also, we do have free. So everything that we do is pretty much free. And there are ways to access it that are free. But we do have a title membership, which is a sustaining. I mean, we are a nonprofit. We have to get money from somewhere. And so we do have members that sustain us. And for those members, we also have a lot of free other things that are for them.
We need to have her. We need to have him back on for sure. Absolutely. There's so much to cover, you know, and especially you're writing about a really hot, important topic. And so we're so grateful that you have come on today and spent this time with us and given us all this great information.
Thanks. It's been amazing to be here.
Em, thank you so much. I want to say thank you to Lillian and thank you to Tim Sohn for joining us live in the chat today. Much appreciated. Thank you to our audience on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, and our audience on Amazon Live. Em, would love to have you back. I think we could talk easily for an hour because there's so many more gems that you could share with us. But I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us live on the show today. And we definitely would love to invite you back again. So to our audience, I want to say thank you for watching. Remember to write good stuff, be inspired, one conversation at a time. You are watching the Writers Corner live show. And so, for myself, Mary, it's goodbye until next time.